Lotus FM, powered by SABC News.
This is Newsbreak Talk. I'm Talisha Naidu, standing in for Taresh Haripashad today, and we're talking about that return to life post the COVID-19 pandemic and if we are, in fact, ready for it. So a big adjustment that was made during the pandemic was how we worked, because that transition from working at the office to then working from home, a very big change indeed. So joining me today on the program to talk about that and if we are ready to return to the office is Natalie Davies. She's the Chief of Operational Efficiency and Strategy Execution at PLP Group. Now, PLP is a group of companies that delivers dynamic customer and employee value solutions. Natalie, good day and welcome to Newsbreak Talk.
Wow, Talisha, thanks for inviting me. I'm happy to be your guest.
We are happy to have you today, Natalie, because we do need your expert advice in helping us now shift the gears. So let's just start with this. How successful was working from home been? I mean, it came out of the blue. All in 1 week, staffers had converted their dining rooms into boardrooms.
Yeah. I guess it's been a mixed bag, Talisha, and one of the things, we run many employee engagement programs across industries, and from the lockdown we ran with some research programs across all these companies where we got to understand from employees how they were adjusting, what challenges they were facing, what were the ups, what were the downs, what were the pain points, what were the exciting progressions. And I guess, Talisha, the biggest thing that we found is it certainly isn't a one-size-fits-all. It's a very personal experience. It's a mixed bag. So I guess in one breath I could say, oh, it was easy and so many people adjusted quickly and they reaped the benefits. In the exact same breath I could say many people struggled and were faced with many hurdles.
You know, our previous expert, Mandy Rodriguez, the psychologist, touched on this. And from my personal experience of a period of time, you know, working from home and also speaking to many of my friends who've done the same, it was quite challenging because you work an 8-hour job, you know, maybe or 8 to 5 at work. You get a 1 hour break and then you go home and you switch off for the day at 5 o'clock. But that's not the case when you work from home. The hybrid working model sometimes is not, it serves as a disadvantage to the employee because you don't necessarily switch off.
You're right. And we found with many people when we were interviewing them, and particularly when I would say to them, what do you do on the weekends for fun? And what worried me was how many people were saying, Natalie, I collapse. I binge watch. Netflix did really well. I watch a whole lot because I'm exhausted, because I'm working insanely long hours. And Talisha, as we know that saying that's catching on about that sitting being the new smoking, I think a lot of people just in these online meetings back to back, it didn't serve them from a health perspective.
So, Natalie, if we can do this, you know, for a better understanding for our audience as well, we keep hearing the term hybrid work model. Explain the term to us.
Okay. So I guess hybrid means where we start to combine the online piece with an in-person back-to-work piece, as well as maybe elements of work that aren't just all at a computer and back on Teams meetings. So hybrid referring to different roles and different divisions and different players in an organization being able to choose what's most effective for them at different points in the day or the week.
Are you or were you able to, you know, ascertain the impact of working from home? What was it like for the economy in terms of productivity and financial benefit?
You know, Talisha, I wouldn't be able to give you percentages. I think we steered away from percentages because or statistics, because we found that would skew the value of the impact analysis. So in one breath where we found across all the organizations that we conducted the research into, all of them had large pockets that were able to get productive fairly quickly. In other aspects, there was a negative impact on the economy, where people don't have workspaces set up at home, and they have very demanding roles within the home environment that interfere with their role in the work environment. So I'd be reluctant to say, this is how much positively or negatively it impacted the economy. Again, it was a bit of a mixed bag, but interesting to see some of the things from a business point of view that maybe we weren't aware of initially. So if I can give you one of the examples, I remember interviewing a staff member who said, because I work for a corporate, people assume that I live in suburbia and I live in a township. And through COVID, that brought challenges of its own. She couldn't get delivery services to her door, like many people in the suburban areas could get. She eventually, faced with the challenges she had, needed to send her kids to her mom during the week so that she could focus on being online. We had quite a few staff members that said the real interesting challenge for them was all family members were using the same dining room table as a workspace. So you can imagine the noise level in online meetings, as well as the coordination required in terms of who goes on to an online meeting.
And we can't also overlook, the challenges that women especially faced while working from home. Being a mom, seeing to your kids, having to run your household, all while working, a full-time job. It's quite challenging, and it's been very challenging for, I would say, most of the South Africans who had to work from home, who had to shift now to remote working or that remote, that hybrid working system. But with all the changes now that we face, Natalie, I have to ask, many corporates have officially taken the stance of introducing that hybrid work model because it's been working for them. And let's face the facts, many of these companies have really saved money. Some of them have closed their offices because of their staff working from home. So now they no longer need to pay for the rent, and they're saving there. And it's a preference of having the employees now work from home. But how do we know if that's the best choice for the employee?
I think it's about, and that's one of the biggest messages in our research findings and in our recommendations, is that it really, just like so many companies in their marketing divisions, when they're paying attention to the customer and focusing on this personalized customer experience, urge employers to focus on a personalized employee experience and to attend to the needs of their individual employees and what works best for them. Not to, it's easy to, the lazier or the inferior route is to go, we've got to get people back in the office because they're more productive, or leave them back at home because they save money. I think that was also what was quite interesting, is how much people save in their travel costs. For some South Africans, a third of their salary goes on traveling to and from work. So for them to be able to work from home is hugely beneficial from a financial perspective. Then the ask of the employer is to look at how do they implement ways that keep the employee focused and productive and connected with the organization's strategy.
I want to follow through on that point, because something very interesting that you mentioned, the financial impact of, working from home. You mentioned that some employees spend a third of their salary just on transport costs. And that's believable, seeing that the fuel price has gone up so much. But they have become financially reliant on that amount of money that they save. So now going back to work means finding an adjustment or a budget to really fill in for that amount that they were saving and using possibly for something else.
Talisha, it's very real. That's something that we've been very mindful as an organization of the saving that employees made and what they became accustomed to. And it's coming on, it's a good 2 years. So that money you're right, it's been used up elsewhere. And that's, on average, that's about 30% of a net income, not a gross.
PLP conducted research, Natalie, to understand, I think, the pain points, the priorities and the perspectives of the talent force in South Africa. And I want to go to one of, I think, the pain points and perspectives that comes through from our WhatsApp line, because our audience do engage with us while we do our talk shows. Vitesh Singh, I cannot work from home because I don't have the facilities, so I'm still going to follow the precautions until it's safe. It speaks a lot about the one size does not fit all. Maybe some people really want to work from home, but they can't, and then some who really don't want to work from home, but they have no choice.
Correct. We one of the things we found with our employee programs, one of the earlier initiatives we did was get staff members set up with a workspace, with a desk, with a chair. I think a lot of people were working on their beds, working on their couches, trying to deal with the noise. So helping staff get set up in the home environment, if that's where they're more productive and where they need to be based, is important. It's important to pay attention to that, so that they're comfortable and looking after their well-being.
Natalie, what is your advice then to the talent force, the workforce, South Africans who are really now entering this new way of work, whether it may be a hybrid working model or if it's really even business owners who are starting their own business and they're looking for the best way to really transition into this period? Because we have to take into consideration the virus has not gone. We could see, a fifth wave that could come through and could really put us back into the situation and take us a few steps back, where we have to now return home after going back to work again from home after everything that goes on. It's so unpredictable. What is your advice?
Alicia, my advice is that employee engagement, call it what you like, whether it's employee wellness, employee engagement, but the employee is a key agenda item in any organization's way forward. And, all companies are always saying how their people are the magic, their people are what make their services different and deliver their brand and their differentiators and their products and their services. So my advice is that employers need to pay attention to the needs of their workforce and really drive at the front of their agenda, getting their employees connected with their organization and making sure that they know what's required of them and that they're in a good space.
And finally, before we let you go, Natalie, your advice, I think, more for the employee, because the shape of the global workforce is definitely changing and for many organizations. So what is your advice in terms of employees really embracing the freedom and flexibility, or maybe, their engagements with their employer about having that 50-50, option of working from home when you need to, but, if we had to be put into a pandemic like that, then being prepared for it?
Lisa, my advice for the employee would be they're now in the driver's seat of their career and their role and their work. And so a post-COVID world in the business world requires that individuals own their careers and are proactive. And whether that proactivity is taking the lead on, from a communication point of view and engaging, be it with their direct boss, with their colleagues, with the organization, and speaking up in terms of I don't understand, or this is what I need, or coming up with our ideas, driving their job, not waiting for an organization to do it for them. I think, not to go on too long, Talisha, but one of the things that really stood out for me was interviewing one of the individuals, and what she missed the most about being in the office is she said, I was in the office, I got to look over my shoulder and see what my colleagues were doing. When I'm at home, I don't always, outside of being on a Teams or a Zoom meeting or attending to email,
there's no
I'm
engagement.
not always sure that what work I'm supposed to be doing. And that for me probably wraps up my biggest point in this chat is, you've got to pay attention to that piece.
Definitely. Natalie, thank you so much for joining us today on Newsbreak Talk and sharing your perspective on this working and this hybrid model.
you so much. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you, Natalie. That was Natalie Davies, Chief of Operational Efficiency and Strategy Execution at the PLP Group. Now, again, the PLP Group is a group of companies that delivers dynamic customer and employee value solutions. So it's exactly 12:53. This is Newsbreak Talk.